Hey, I'm Kev Mr. Khan. Welcome to Power Oversteer. And in today's episode, we're previewing the 16th round of 2013 Indycar Series season, the Grand Prix of Baltimore. The last two seasons since its inception on the calendar in 2011, it's seen very entertaining races on this trusty street course. And last season, the penultimate round, Ryan Hunter-Reay won it, and it really did set up a fantastic finale in Fontana. This time round, we do have the doubleheader in Houston between the Ventali and Fontana and this round, but it should be another entertaining race on the streets of Baltimore. Heading into this race this weekend, a back-to-back race with Sonoma, so we've still got repercussions, still got feelings of anger, especially from Chip Ganassi team from that race. But who's happy? Who's smiling? Henry Questionnaire is at the top of the championship. Still there. Another top 10 finished in Sonoma. He's got 479 points. Now 39 points ahead of Scott Dixon, who was closing fast on him. But now, after that controversial penalty in Sonoma, with only a 15th place finish, he's now 39 points behind the Brazilian. Ryan Hunter-Reay, good finish. Just ahead of Henry Questionnaire again, just like he was in Mid-Ohio, with 417 points. 8 behind him is Marco Andretti, great top 5 finish the last time out. Simon Pagenaud, good top 5 finish for him the last time out as well, with 380 points. Just one ahead of Dario Franchitti, who got another 3rd place finish, his 4th in the last 5 races, with the other finish being 4th in the 2nd race at Toronto. Justin Wilson, runner up last time out, 361 points for the Delcon race in machine driver. With the winner, Will Power, his first win in 2013, a 10th different winner this season. What a really open season this has been, with 356 points, just 5 behind Wilson on 361 points. James Hinchcliffe, he's got 350 points in 9th in the championship, good top 10 for him. And Charlie Kimball, not in a race he probably wanted after his maiden Indycar win at Mid-Ohio, with a disastrous race in Sonoma. He's got 335 points in 10th. Tony Kanaan with 331 points, just 4 behind him. EJV so in 12th with 287 points. Takuma Sato in 13th with 272 points. And in his last 6 races, he had the best finish of 20th. A disastrous run of results for the AJ Foyt machine driver. Sebastian Bourdais, good top 10 finish last time out. He's 261 points. Tied with Ed Compter for 14th. Graham Hall, 16th with 252 points, just a point ahead of Joseph Newgarden. Simona Di Silvestro is just 3 points behind Newgarden after a very good top 10 finish last time out for her. James Jakes, 19th with 237 points. Tristan Volge, best rookie, he's the only rookie for the whole year season, with 210 points in 20th. Sebastian Zavager, 172 points in 21st in the championship. Oil Serbo 22nd with 167 points. Then you got AX Tagiani behind him, just 4 points behind, but of course Tagiani doesn't have a drive. Mike Conway with 24th with 149 points. 100 points for Ryan Briscoe in 25th. JR Hildebrand in 27th with 93. Then selected others, James Davison in 31st with 27 points, and Luca Filippi behind him with 32nd with 14 points. All of that from his Mid-Ohio race. And so the news heading into this race weekend, well, Graham Rahal has been confirmed to drive the number 15 Rahal Letterman racing machine in that Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course test to gather data on the 4th of September to see if that, just to evaluate the course and see if it's going to be headed for next season. Oil Serbo is going to be in the 4 Panther racing machine for the rest of the season, starting with Baltimore and then doubleheader in Houston and then the finale in Fontana. Tony Kanaan will make his record 212 consecutive start. That is an IndyCar record, now surpassing his team owner Jimmy Vasser's records dating back to 2001 in Portland. He's raced with broken bones and ribs and with all kinds of injuries to get that record, Tony Kanaan, so well done to him. Luca Filippi is back in the 98 Brian Herter Barracuda racing machine in place of J.R. Hildebrand. Hildebrand, of course, will race the finale in Fontana, but Luca Filippi has his chance to shine in Baltimore and Houston. And driving alongside Justin Wilson in the roulette number 18 Dale Coyne Racing seat is his brother Stefan Wilson, or younger brother Stefan Wilson, who's 23, will turn 24 in September, and he's been racing cars since 2006. He was second in the 2007 Formula Palmer Audi Championship, was fourth in the national class in the 2008 British Air 3. He went over to America in 2009 with the first machine prepared by Derek Walker Racing, did 6 road course events with a best of 4th in Toronto. Then in 2010 he had a ride with Brian Hurt at Autosport, and he had a best of 3rd in the season opener at St. Petersburg, and then 3rd with the fastest lap in Toronto, again on his way to 11th in the championship. Unfortunately he did miss 2 races with a damaged car and then a sponsorship issues. And then in 2011 finally did a full season with Andretti Autosport, came 3rd in the championship behind runaway winner Joseph Newgarden and Argentine driver Esteban Gutierrez. I think I said that right. And he had wins at Toronto and from pole at Kentucky, dominated winning there. And then last season he had a single appearance for Fan Force United at the Fontana finale, finishing 6th. He was in contention for this Dale Coyne seat full time, this Dale Coyne seat, for 2013, but unfortunately couldn't come up with the sponsorship, but does have enough to do this Baltimore event. And driving in the seat there, Mike Conway, Pepper Man, Anna Beatrix, James Davison recently, and many drivers have driven this year, so it could be interesting to see how he does alongside his big brother at that team. And it's the first time in a long time I remember a pair of brothers racing together, so it's really interesting to see how he does. And that's the news heading into Baltimore. Not much, because of course it's back-to-back weekends with Sonoma, but that's the news. Let's do some track facts about the Grand Prix of Baltimore. So some track facts about the Grand Prix of Baltimore. Well, it's held on the streets of Baltimore in Baltimore, Maryland, USA. It is sponsored by Street and Racing Technology. Its first event was in 2011, and it's got a mixed surface, asphalt and concrete. It's 2.04 miles long, or 3.28 kilometers long, has 12 turns, and that record is a 117.5921 from Willpower in the DW12 from last year's event. And as I said, it's an IndyCar Series event and it's an American Le Mans Series event as well for the past 2 seasons. And it's been around not that long, but it's very entertaining. And last year the promotional event was taken over by LLC and Andretti Sports Marketing, led by Michael Andretti. Of course, is the owner of Andretti Autosports as well, and so he did the marketing for the event last year, and it did seem to do very, very well. And the course, as I said, it's got 12 turns, and it's a temporary street course, runs in the clockwise direction. As a start finish line located on Pratt Street, passing by various Baltimore landmarks, including the Baltimore Convention Center, the Inner Harbor, and the Camden Yards. And so the cars travel east along Pratt Street to Light Street, where they turn right, and then travel south along the northbound lanes to the intersection between Light and the streets. Then we have the slowest corner on the circuit, a tight right hand bend. I remember Connor Daly crashing out the lead of the 2011 event in Indy Lights there after dominating that event, and it's seen many incidents there as well. Then the cars lead back along Light Street southbound lanes to Conway Street, where ironically, yes, Mike Conway did crash there last season, unfortunately. Then the cars turn left and head west along Conway Street to Camden Station, where they navigate a chicane designed to slow the cars down there before the pit entry. Very unusual pit lane here, where it's on a different part so from the pit straight, a bit like Mid-Ohio, where they start the race on the back straight instead of on the pit straight there. And so yeah, that's where the circuit is kind of unusual. Then they turn left again there. Then the cars circle around the Maryland Stadium Authority to Russell Street, where they turn north once more. And then there's a short straight, feeds them into a pair of sweepers, pairs of right and then left. And then they lead back onto Pratt Street, and there's a 0.5 mile, 0.8 kilometre long main straight. But there is a temporary chicane there. The drivers did want this removed last season after the 2011 event, but in practice cars were flying over some like train tracks there, so they had to put in a temporary chicane there, and so it's going to be there again. And so yeah, that is the circuit, and you know, it's a very interesting circuit. I think it's one of the better street circuits along with Sao Paulo on the event, and it leads to lots of overtaking. And you know, the 2011 event was very popular, but as I said, they wanted to make changes, and you know, they did reprofile the chicane before the pit entry because it was only a single lane, you know, way there in 2011. It was very narrow, but now it's a bit wider, and so it's less of a bottleneck there. The winners have been Will Power in 2011, and then Ryan Hunter Way last year, where he really needed to win the 75 lap event, and you know, he did that after storming driving, wet dry conditions, and in the dry he just really flew in the last parts, and on the last restart he overtook Briscoe, and you know, Will Power was a bit like, he took off a bit too soon. He didn't say it in that voice, but you know, so it was a bit contentious, but you know, it stood, and Ryan Hunter Ray of course won the event and carried the momentum into the last event, where Will Power crashed in Fontana and Ryan Hunter Ray got the result he needed to win the title. And so you know, it's where we see, you know, the title hunt really close up in 2011. Will Power of course won here. You know, he's trying to stay ahead of Dario Franchitti and or catch up, and you know, it really did tighten up that championship battle as well. So it's a very important event for the championship season. And again, heading into 2013, Scott Dixon wanted to bounce back from that poor result in Sonoma, and Helio Castroneves wanting to continue that consistent running, just survive like he did in Sonoma and get another top 10 result to maintain his lead in the championship. And so last year we did have Ryan Hunter win it from Ryan Briscoe in his Penske, Simon Pagenaud was third, Scott Dixon was fourth, Rubens Barrichello in fifth, his last top 5 in an Indycar, or yet. Will Power was 6th, Oversteer 7th, Axel in 8th, EJ Viso 9th. Now Kevin was rounded out the top 10, and so yeah, there was lots of lead changes between Will Power, Ryan Hunter Ray, James Hinchcliffe, Takuma Sato, and Alex Tagliani, and Ryan Briscoe, even Simon Pagenaud as well. Lots of cautions as well. 9 cautions last year. After the event in Sonoma, I think we might see a few this year as well. So that is the Baltimore event. Apologies for that, I do have a bit of a cold at the moment, but yeah, 9 cautions last year for, I'm counting right here, it's 25 laps out of the 75 laps, so for a third of the race to a caution lap. So yeah, caution's going to be a big part of this race, it seems, and you know, it's all about track position again. It is the place where you can overtake that tight hairpin, and things is the main passing spot, and down the front straight you can pass into turn 1 if you get a good run out of that chicane. So it is one of those street circuits where there is lots of pass and lots of action, but again, it's always better to be at the front and get that clean air, because it can get a bit messy in the midfield, as I said, we found out last year in the first event in 2011 as well. So that's some track facts about the Grand Prix of Baltimore. Let's do some predictions now. So some predictions for the Grand Prix of Baltimore. So let's start right at the front. Let's start with Penske and Andretti Autosport, who I believe will be fighting for the win, but Chip Ganassi, they've really got a handle on this car, and they won last time out in Toronto in the last street course with a double victory for Scott Dixon at a double header event. And you know, in Detroit as well, they were very strong, and Simon Pagenaud got a win there along with Mike Conway in the Delcourt machine as well. So you know, you're looking again at the top 3, Andretti, at Penske, at Chip Ganassi to maybe get the win, and especially got Scott Dixon fired up from after that penalty that you know he believes he shouldn't have got in Sonoma, and Dario Franchitti also believes he shouldn't have got, and you know, everyone in Chip Ganassi believes he shouldn't have got. But you know, I've been over that in the review of the event, I don't want to go over it again, but you know, I think Scott Dixon will be right up there. I believe it, though it might be a Penske win. I think it will be a Will Power win. I think it, he got back in the groove last week after that win in Sonoma, and I think again he'll be right up there at the front. Look for him to get pole maybe. Be up there fighting with the likes of Dario Franchitti, with Ryan Hunter-Reay, of course, who won last year, and James Hinchcliffe, and maybe look out for Simon Pagenaud as well, and that Smith Hamilton Peterson HP Motorsports machine. He's always done well on their street courses. He seems to be very good on that. As I say, he got his maiden IndyCar win at Detroit in the second race there. He's on a good run up in Mid-Ohio, top 5 in Sonoma. And he's got Dario Franchitti breathing down his neck for 5th in the championship. So, he'll be looking to maintain his high standards as he has been throughout this season, especially on these road and street courses. He always seems to do well on these. You've got 6th in Alabama, got 8th in Long Beach, 9th in Sao Paulo, of course 12th, and ended up winning Detroit. So got 2nd in Mid-Ohio, 9th in Toronto, and then 12th in Toronto. So he's always up there around the top 10, and I expect him to be up there in the top 5 now for this event. And I said, Dario Franchitti, man of the moment in the championship. That's very consistent now and looks very strong. Got a couple poles, he got a fastest lap as well in Toronto, and so he looks like he's really got a hand on his car finally after the woes of the last season and about the first half of this season as well. And so maybe not for him to fight as well for the win with willpower as well, as I said, finally getting a win as well. And James Hinchcliffe, who's got a couple wins on street courses this season at St. Petersburg and at Sao Paulo as well. Who else is there to look out for? Well, Justin Wilson, of course, of the Del Cormier. You can't rule him out on these twisty left-right circuits. And, runner-up last time in Sonoma, 8th in Mid-Ohio, 8th in Toronto, and he got 3rd in Detroit as well, 3rd at Long Beach, 9th at St. Petersburg. Look out for him on these circuits, and he's battling right up there for 7th, even for the top 5 as well. If he gets a good result here over Pagenaud, could be right in that battle for the top 5 as well. And who else? Maybe Takuma Sato. He did have good speed around Sonoma. He just got caught up in a couple of incidents, had mechanical issues as well. And so maybe look for Sato to be up there. Of course, he won in Long Beach and 2nd in Sao Paulo, came 8th in St. Petersburg on these street courses. So he does have pedigree on them as well, if I said that right. So maybe look for him to be up there if he can just keep his nose clean for once in these last few races. I said dreadful run recently, but if he keeps his nose clean, expect him up there. And maybe dark horse for the event, Sebastian Bourdais in the Dragon Racing machine. Double podium in Toronto, and it's really the turning point for the season. Is they got 12th in Mid-Ohio and then top 10 in Sonoma last time out, so they've really turned the season around, Dragon, and so maybe expect Bourdais to be up there as well. KV Racing with Tony Kanaan, maybe. He always does well on the road and street courses as well, and then top 5 in Long Beach for the instant. Top 5 in St. Petersburg. Running well in Sao Paulo before running out of fuel. So, look for him to do well as again. And so those are my picks for the top. I'm not sure who's going to win. As I said, I think it might be a Penske, so I'm going to go for willpower ahead of Dario Franchitti and Simon Pagenaud. That's going to be my top 3. Let me know what your top 3 is in the comments below. But that is my preview of the Grand Prix of Baltimore. Not a race to miss. It's going to be messy. It's going to be lots of carnage probably. There's going to be some cautions, but it's probably going to help close out the championship as well. I think Scott Dixon might do a bit better, cushioning this as well in this event. So it's going to be a very entertaining race, just like it has been for the last 2 seasons. So that's my preview. I'll be back with more videos on this channel, more gameplay. So till then, salamat for watching. Cheerio.